Information. How much do you really know? Functioning labels. Let's talk about functioning labels. In the 1980s, functioning labels were invented to differentiate severe autism from mild autism. But not long after, it was recognized socially and medically to be inaccurate. Functioning labels fail to accurately describe a person's autism, since each person's needs and symptoms vary in different areas. For example, my sensory needs are very high and I have walking issues from a delay in my gross motor skills, while socially I require little to no assistance and can pretty much take care of myself. Other autistic people may need a tablet for communication and need full-time assistance, but can easily tune out loud spaces or a weird shirt texture, and may or may not have gross motor or fine motor skills issues. Why should functioning labels be erased from our vocabulary? Functioning labels fail to accurately describe a person's needs. They lead to dehumanization and dismissal, meaning when referring to someone as low functioning, you're dismissing their capabilities and breaking them down to words we often use to describe something broken. This usually leads to them being left out of activities and are assumed to be childlike. This can lead to trauma and low self-esteem. When referring to someone as high functioning, you're dismissing the person's struggles and disability as something unimportant. This can lead to denied help and accommodations, as well as discriminations and accusations of faking. This can also lead to chronic masking and trauma, as well as low self-esteem. Here's a visual of what I mean. So autism is not a linear line where it goes from more autistic to less autistic. It's a circle because symptoms vary in each person. So this is a visual of what I'm talking about. Asperger's syndrome. Hans Asperger and diagnostic of Asperger's syndrome became recognized in the 1980s as a way to describe someone whose autism was deemed too mild to be considered a part of the autism spectrum. Asperger had connections with euthanasia programs run by Nazis, where he had referred hundreds of disabled kids to be killed because they were deemed a burden to life and not worthy of living. The term Asperger's syndrome was finally canceled in 2013, as it not only fails to accurately describe autism, it also has a horrifying past. ASAN, also known as Autistic Self-Advocacy Network, is an organization run by autistic people to teach other autistic people to fight for their rights and learn to advocate for themselves. They help bring pride and acceptance to the autism community, as well as work to break down harmful stereotypes. They also help autistic people navigate college and other milestones in life, as well as shedding light on ableism throughout the world and actively fighting to stop it. ASAN actively brings light to the voices of other autistic people with different experiences, such as non-speaking, those of color, women, and queer autistic people. They cover so many important topics and actively participate in creating a better and safer world for disabled people. At one point, they even protested at a college during Autism Pride Month, since Autism Speaks wiggled their way onto the campus of the college, spreading harmful statements about autism, such as autism being the #1 cause of divorce and that it's something to fear. Luckily, ASAN got the signs taken down and managed to educate loads of people in the process. Sesame Street. Sesame Street came out with their first autistic character, Julia, in 2017. The autistic community feels she is one of the only and most accurate pieces of autistic representation they've ever seen on television. Sesame Street partnered up with numerous autistic professionals as well as ASAN. Though shortly after, ASAN chose to resign from the project when Sesame Street partnered up with Autism Speaks. So what's wrong with Autism Speaks? Autism Speaks is a charity that targets parents of newly diagnosed children. They promote to parents that having a child like Julia or me is like having a child who has died. They spread the idea that autism is something that needs to be cured and is a disease taking away their children. When you first look into their website, they seem great, but the more you dig deeper, you'll notice things not seeming so good. Unfortunately, the ideas they spread cause much harm to autistic people, leading to potential suicide or attempted suicide, as well as lifelong traumas and general low self-esteem. The puzzle piece, and Light It Up Blue. The puzzle piece was created in 1963 by the National Autistic Society, featuring a boy crying inside of it, which would later be adopted by Autism Speaks. So what's wrong with it? Well, to start, the puzzle piece was created to represent a missing piece in autistic people, which can only be filled by a cure. With time, the puzzle piece would be adopted by Autism Speaks, who had changed it to blue to represent autism being a boy's only disability. For many years, due to no studies being done on women and only men, autism was thought to only affect boys. Thus, the blue is simply a residue of that era. So what's wrong with Light It Up Blue? Light It Up Blue is a tradition created in 2010 as a march for awareness of autism celebrated every April 2nd. But just like with the puzzle, the blue represents autism being for boys only, and the awareness reduces autism to terms we use for things like cancer. What do we celebrate? Red Instead was created in 2015, and Light It Up Gold was created in 2013 to replace Light It Up Blue as a march for pride and representation of all races, cultures, genders, and more. Light It Up Gold is celebrated each year on April 2nd, as well as Red Instead. On April 2nd, to show your pride and support for autism, wear red or gold. This shows you're up to date and care about acceptance versus awareness. It shows us